Hello and welcome to Killing Time. This is the show that searches for entertainment that does not suck. My name is Ayaz Akhtar. With me, as always, is the man who's always been a huge fan of Michelle Pfeiffer, including her work in Married to the Mob. He's a big Spider-Man fan, too, and his second favorite goblin is Hob. That's right, here he is, Just Bob.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
The Hobgoblin is very, very favorite and close personal favorite of mine when it comes to Spider-Man villains as well. So, Hobgoblins. Today we're going to be talking about Big Mouth, which is a very, very adult cartoon show on Netflix. You might have seen it. And because Netflix is not another company, or their production company doesn't rhyme with ShnubUG, we have no problem showing you a graphic of this. We can even show you the trailer without there being any takedown issues because they are not ShnubUG. So ShnubUB, G, go fly a kite. Or maybe suck an egg. So, we're talking about Big Mouth, which premieres on Netflix Season 2 on October 5th. It's a Friday. Netflix loves giving you a Friday binge thing to watch. I've watched the first 7 episodes. You've watched the first 6, correct? Yep. And we're not going to spoil anything right away. We're going to do our normal format where we tell you whether it's worth watching or not, spoiler free, and then we're going to dive a little deeper into the episodes. So if you've never heard of this show, it's definitely not safe for work. I tried to watch it at work. No, don't watch it at work.
Because it's not safe for children either.
No, not even close. I mean, if I'll go back right to that still, that is a still from the trailer, okay?
And that's one of the mild parts of the show.
Oh, yeah, there's some things, and I'm not spoiling anything. This is in the trailer. There are other scenes. It's very graphic because it's basically the tale of... It's a growing-up tale. It's a coming-of-age story of a couple of children, and they are dealing...
It's about puberty.
Yeah.
It's about puberty.
They're going through puberty, and that requires a lot of insanity. We assume you've either seen Season 1 or you're aware of it. There are things like the Hormone Monster. You can see him there. These things are important. They play characters in these kids' lives. And Season 1 I thought was really good. What did you think of Season 1?
Season 1 I thought was excellent. Funny, quick. The humor was really good. I mean, a little dirty at times, but that's what made it funny. The writing was really sharp. And it was almost like even with how crude and terrible it was, there were actually morals to some of these stories. And you could think back to when you were going through puberty and going through some of this stuff. Yeah,
it definitely had that relatability element to it because I think Nick Kroll is one of the creators behind it. Nick Kroll and John Mulaney are some of the voices that are involved in the show. You might have seen them in Oh Hello. John Mulaney's blowing up as a comedian, as a stand-up right now. Nick Kroll, you've seen him in, everything. He was in The League. He's in commercials. He's in... movies. He's in. That's Nick Kroll right now saying, "Hey, thanks for saying something." No, that's just something else.
Bummer.
He was in the short-lived ABC sitcom Cavemen. I'm not making that up either. Nick Kroll, man of many, many voices, or at least one or two very distinguished or distinguishable voices in the series. They have great other cast members, including Fred Armisen, Maya Rudolph. You've got Jenny Slate. You've got Jordan Peele. So this has got a lot of great comedy voices and great stories. Season 1 I really liked. Very strange, very bizarre kind of storytelling. Very kind of, I think I have no problem saying this, a pretty ugly style of drawing. I really don't care for the art style. It's this kind of, it's really simple looking and ugly and just, there's something we shouldn't be able to show you right there in the trailer. So sorry about that, guys. But anyway... Very, very gross style of animation, I think. Anyway, that being said...
But it adds to it.
Yeah.
It almost fits the show,
Puberty is a gross time anyway, so that is true. So, Season 1, very good. Season 2, all right, let's talk about Season 2 with no spoilers. What did you think of Season 2 on its own?
On its own, if you don't compare Season 2 to Season 1, I think it... you have some of the same elements. It's still funny. We still have some morals to the story. The pacing's a little bit different. But I still, taken away from Season 1, I enjoyed it. I definitely laughed. I can't say it wasn't funny. It only suffers when I try and compare it back to Season 1 in my mind.
I agree with you entirely on that one because Season 1 is really good and Season 2 is more of the same. there's a lot of weird conventions that they set up in season 1 that by season 2 are norms. Again, that's the hormone monster. Now, when the concept is introduced in season 1, it's very strange and bizarre, and you're seeing the relationship between these kids and their individual monsters, because every kid has a monster, and they're learning to deal with this kind of wild, overwhelming id, essentially, and they've made it another character with their own distinguished voices, their own different motivations, which seem against the motivations of a young child, because this is not, you're not supposed to want what you want when you're going through puberty, but you do, and so you kind of deal with that. So that's a very real thing. In season 2, it's just like, okay, this has all been established, let's see where these characters can go, let's see how they can grow a little bit, and let's see their next chapter in life. And because of that, I don't think it doesn't hold up as well as season 1, because season 1's really refreshing. This is more of the same. It's not, by any means, it's not bad at all. It did get me to laugh a couple times as well. Fred Armisen, I thought, his character is the thing that actually made me laugh the hardest throughout the season. I don't know why, but his character...
The father?
Yeah, the father of Nick.
Of Nick. He is hilarious. But that was, in the second season, we definitely had a little bit more focus on the parents.
Yeah, we had a growth a bit. Instead of just being stuck on the kids, we had an expansion of the world, which is, I mean, when it comes to storytelling, that's a great thing. But when it comes to the show, I don't think it hurt the program, but also there are certain characters that are very irritating. I think this is not that big a deal, and they show up a lot, and you're just like, okay, I get they're supposed to be irritating in the world of the show, and they are irritating in the show. They're also irritating to watch as a viewer. And so at times when it came to watching a second or third episode, I was like, I don't know if I want to keep watching this because of the annoyance aspects. Otherwise, I think it's a fun show to have on. I do not think it's one of those things you leave on in the background. I don't think you'd watch it 100%, but there's a lot of visual gags, and it kind of goes all over the place.
You'd lose a lot of it if you weren't watching.
Yeah, so I highly suggest watching it. And before we get to spoilers, we're going to talk to our patrons and you guys who are potential patrons. Thank you guys for helping us make this show. Joe, Michelle, and Alan, right now these guys have pledged to the point where they have video credit on our episodes. So we thank you for being a part of this for so long. And if you want your name up there in lights, go to patreon.com/IAZ, and we will add your name to this. Otherwise, if you can share the link to patreon.com/IAZ, be very helpful. And we thank everybody for their support thus far. Back to the program, and we're going to the spoiler, so here comes the spoiler bumper. Okay, so I have notes for each episode, and I highlighted a bunch of them because as the episodes go on, my notes get fewer and fewer or less and less because I just kind of grew bored with the show. Okay.
Bring it. Let's do this.
Episode 1. Andrew's a big man. He's now taller. Nick is still short. His hormone monster is really, really old. It's really hard to understand Nick's hormone monster, whose name I think is Rick.
Nick is also Steve's hormone monster.
Nick is worried about not growing. Nick loses a pube, which I thought was one of the funniest moments.
Oh my god, no! That was great.
Nick's got 2 of them. One of them is lost and then has to be flushed down the toilet. It really was something else. Then there was Andrew getting ticked off at his father about not being very good at basketball. Andrew losing his mind and saying, "I'm going to kill you, Dad." Going into the stands, trying to kill his father. Because his father, I think his name is Marty or something like that, he is extremely irritating. And
he's difficult to watch.
He's designed to be irritating. And he is irritating. That's episode 1. These are the highlighted notes. Episode 2 is all about Gina and a fascination with the female figure, particularly certain parts. Missy is upset that she's flat-chested. Her mirror self completely loses it. Now, on this show, this is a new concept, and I welcome this a lot. Her mirror self yells at her and then comes out of the mirror, and then Nathan Fillion from a poster comes down to help. I thought that was great.
Yeah, that was funny.
Then we talk about Steve. Coach Steve. Let me get Coach Steve up on the B-roll here. I'm going to get him going here. You know Coach Steve, and he has what he calls sheet sneezes.
Yes. There he is.
I'm trying to get him back. Let's get him back up there.
There's
There's Coach Steve. Coach Steve He is Coach Steve, and he is this dim-witted coach. If you haven't seen him, he discusses. He's also the sex ed teacher. He's never had sex, and he is discussing his she sneezes. I thought that was pretty funny. It's crass and it's dumb. That's the highlights on that one. Episode 3, Nick's crushing on Gina. That's the girl who has grown a bit, and you can see the boys ogling this girl here. That's what they look like when they're ogling her. And let me get out of that real fast. So Nick's crushing on Gina, and Gina is with somebody else. Now, this episode starts off really strong because the hormone monster has Andrew sniff the swimsuit Nick's sister was wearing. And Andrew decides to take care of himself, and the sister walks in and starts screaming, voiced by Kat Dennings, I think. Then we get introduced to the shame wizard, who tracks down Andrew and takes him to shame court. Maury, the hormone monster, also shows up at shame court to be Andrew's lawyer. Those are the highlights of episode 3. There's also the friend zone, which I thought was pretty fun, too. Episode 4. Steve is excited but worried about making sex.
Yes.
That's what he says. Okay, I'm not making up the phrasing. Nick gets pantsed on the zip line and exposed. Not only because it's National Pantsing Day, not only is he pantsed, he's got his underpants removed too, and he's on a zip line. He's too light to be brought down. And so Nick's dad, who's played by Fred Armisen, in solidarity, depantses himself at a mini golf course where there are children and is promptly arrested. Okay. Can't say this to my kids downstairs. Is I hate F. You know, the concept of that was already explained in episode 1, but one of those things happens between Lola and Andrew. It's really more of this contentious relationship that leads to kissing, and Lola is a very irritating character voiced by Nick Kroll.
Oh my God, so annoying.
Steve got to round the bases, so to speak, and it was something. The scene in which this happens is literally it was something, because I cannot explain this.
Yes.
Episode 5 is a skit show, which has this strong pro-Planned Parenthood angle to it. Now, I didn't think it was bad in any way. I'm not talking about the politics of it. I just thought the episode was kind of this meandering episode.
It felt long. It felt longer than any of the other episodes, and we went through everybody's story, and it just disjointed a little bit. You know, it seemed like they were filling it, fillers.
The funniest thing is Nick's dad's story because he's high on drugs and he's explaining things. The funniest line I like this. It was the 70s. The year was 1955.
1955.
I don't know why that was funny, but it made me laugh.
It was hilarious. I laughed really hard.
So Fred Armisen killing it in that. And then at the end is an SNL parody. Leaving that episode alone. Episode 6, we see Jessie finding her parents' weed. Jessie and Nick get high, and that's pretty funny. And Andrew realizes how much Lola is like his father. Now he's seeing Marty's face when he's looking at Lola, which is creepy. Andrew tries to break up with Lola, but Lola breaks Andrew's wrist. Okay, didn't see that coming?
Yeah,
Thought it was pretty awesome. Episode 7 becomes Lola protesting Andrew, and there's a new hormone monster for Nick. It's Tyler, and he's a youngin', and he doesn't have a horn yet. And so Tyler's a bit insane. He's got terrible ideas. You know, like kick her in the back of the head. That's going to make her like you. Just bad ideas. And I wrote in all caps here, Fred Armisen's character is probably the funniest thing so far. Yeah. I believe this is where he becomes a kitten. I'm texting this one. And Andrew apologizes to Lola. Greg rooms with Steve. Greg is Jessie's dad. There's a go-kart date between Gina and Nick, which I thought was pretty sweet. Gina gets a peck to Nick. And then Tyler gets his horn, and it hurts.
And it hurts a lot.
So those are the first 7 episodes, and if you're not like, hey, that's not really that funny, it wasn't as groundbreaking as the first season. No.
But, I mean, still, the hormone monster says some things along the way that makes me laugh a lot. You know, he'll just come out of the blue with something and, you know,
so this is the pre-pantsing right there. I'm going to leave that alone because I think I have to actually go back and edit. So if you're wondering why there was a blurry scene earlier, I don't know exactly what we should put up and if it's going to get flagged anyway.
Yeah.
I don't really feel like dealing with that. So if you see a blurry scene, you heard us say later on, uh-oh, that's why. Because there's a lot of musical numbers.
Actually, that's true. I forgot about the musical numbers.
There's Maya Rudolph as Jessie's hormone monster, and she is great.
She's awesome. She's funny. She does the singing. She does the dancing. Very good.
So I think season 2 is a fun thing to have on. I don't think it's something you can watch at work. Like, here's another shot from the trailer.
Oh my
it's just
goodness.
these are just the stills, guys.
Yeah,
Stills.
yeah.
It's really kind of it's I wouldn't say it's like gross out humor, but it's kind of
There's some disturbing parts to it.
yeah. It's got some things going on it, and I'm looking at the trailer still, and I don't know what's safe
And
to
now
show.
you laugh. Yes, I know.
Oh, there's actually scenes where we haven't seen. This is past episode 7, so
Yeah.
we'll see how this goes. We've only seen the first 7. Maybe it changes a bit. I could not show you that. Okay, there's a still of a pube being removed up right now. Can't show you that. I do not want to get a takedown notice for this. So, I think it's worth watching. If you watch season 1, I don't think there's any pressing need to watch it. Like, I gotta watch this thing. It's not like I gotta know what happens to these characters. But it's a fun story. I think that Kroll and Mulaney and Slate and everybody that's part of this thing, they're having a good time doing it, and you can tell.
Yeah.
And I really do enjoy that. Otherwise,
It's a fun little time waster.
Yeah. It's basically like, watch this before Daredevil shows up on the 19th, because that stuff's going to be freaking something.
Yeah.
Can't say anything about that yet, technically. So
No, and we'll be talking about that when we can.
Okay, that does it for us, and we'll see everybody next time on Killing Time.